We're about to take this thing to a whole nother level, and we need you to be involved because we believe everybody spends forever somewhere. We believe that Jesus is the hope of the world. We believe the church isn't a building, it's not an institution, it's a movement, and we need you to move with us. And if you're not willing to move with us, you can move to another church and watch us online for free for every Sunday for the rest of your life at 11 and 6. And you can even give online if you feel guilty, and you ought to give more since you have felt guilty anyway. But this is the opportunity, I'm just telling you, this is the opportunity that we as a collection of churches in the city, we can't miss this. This is more unique than you'll ever know. And it's not because we're special, and it's not because we're better, and it's not because we're smarter. It's because for whatever reason, we've been given a stewardship of influence in this city, in this country, and with church leaders in the world. The question is, are we going to be good stewards? Or are we just going to be content that we're a big church with lots of resources? So here's what I need you to do. I need you to be bold in 4 areas. Number 1, I need you to be bold in your invitations. I need you to be bold in your invitations. You know what I mean by that? I mean, there are people that you've thought about inviting to some environment and you still haven't done it. It's time to ramp up your boldness. And I'll tell you why. It's not so we'll get bigger. We're already big. It's because I need you to experience our church through the eyes and the ears of a person that is far from God or doesn't go to church. I need you to do that because if at least once a year you experience this through the eyes and the ears of someone who doesn't attend church, doesn't consider themselves a church person, who's far from God, you will continue to help us evaluate ourselves as a church that's designed for unchurched people. If you quit inviting, if it just becomes the church people, we will slowly over time turn and become a very, very insider congregation. And no matter how big we are, we will no longer be on mission. I need you to be bold inviters. I need you to take risk in your invitation. And you know what? You need that because it'll grow your faith. It'll stretch your faith. And there are people who someday you'll have the joy of seeing them pass through the waters of baptism. And they may mention your name, but whether they mention your name or not, you are going to be in tears at what God used you to accomplish. And we as a church, it's never been easier for you. We as a church are going to partner with you in the process. From the very beginning, we've said our whole outreach strategy is invest and invite, invest and invite, invest and invite. You invest in the lives of the people around you that you love, that you play golf with, that you play tennis with, that you work with. And then when it's appropriate, you invite them to an environment where we will take responsibility for starting the conversation in terms of their relationship with God and their belief system. We need you to be a little bit bolder. We need you to be bold in terms of your invitation, not simply for the sake of the person that you're inviting, but so that we as a congregation personally at the individual level stay on task with what God has called us to do. And secondly, I need you to be bold in your volunteering. Now, we're about to create some new campuses. And there are many of you who have been, you've volunteered. I want to walk around and hug all of our volunteers and just say thank you, thank you, thank you because of the difference you've made in my children's lives and the lives of kids all over our communities and in the lives and in the experience of everybody who attends our church. But there's a bunch of you who've been sitting on the sideline. And, again, you got your routine all worked out and everybody serves you and they serve your kids and they serve your teenagers and they make sure you get parked and the lights are on and the sound's on and everything works. And you're busy, I understand that. But do you understand that every single Sunday you attend one of our campuses, you are served by very busy people? And if you've been sitting on the sidelines, I need you to get off the sidelines. You need you to get off the sidelines and get in the volunteer game. I need you to be bold in your volunteering, which means I need you to consider volunteering in an area you never considered volunteering before. Sounds like Star Trek, doesn't it? That's what I need you to do. I need you to go places you never considered going before. We just need your information. And you know what? You're going to like it. You're going to love it. You're going to connect with people that may become lifelong friends. But either way, as we continue to multiply, I need you to give back in areas that have been given to you in terms of service in this church. And again, we're not going to throw you in a classroom and say, good luck, we'll see you in an hour. We love our kids too much to do that. In fact, chances are we may say, I'm sorry, you're not qualified. We have really high standards, and you get credit for trying, and we continue to keep the standards high by not letting you serve, okay? That happens. Because, hey, I'm telling you, listen, this is so important. This is huge. We don't babysit children. We're placing an anchor in their heart that's going to go so deep that when they hit middle school, they can only drift so far. That's what we're doing. Everywhere I go when I train church leaders, I always get asked two questions, the people who've been here. Number one, how do you get such great volunteers, and how do you get men to volunteer to work with children? And I say it's easy, because our men understand they're not just taking care of children. They are eyeball to eyeball with some little boys and some little girls in some cases that do not have a man in their life. And they understand this is as missional as anything else we do. They understand that they're going to be the person who is the first person to share some of these stories that will go with these children for the rest of their life. It's not hard to get men, because the men in our congregation understand the role and the responsibility of men in our culture. And they're willing to sit on a floor in a little carpet square, a little carpet circle with children, and pour their lives into these little kids. Not just information, but the fact that there's a male in the room who loves those little boys and those little girls. They get it. It's why we get middle school leaders that work with middle schoolers through 9th, through 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and they move up with them. It's why we get leaders who plug in with 9th graders. And then they stick with them as a 10th grader. And then when that kid's in the 11th grade and hits one of those adolescent bumps like we all hit, it's not just mom and dad trying to help him. Now there's another adult in their life who's known him for 3 years. That's why we have incredible volunteers. And for those of you who've been sitting on the fence a little bit, enjoying the show, throwing a few bucks in the plate, talking about how great your church is, but you've never taken this step, now is the time. Because we must be good stewards of this amazing opportunity that God has given us. And then I need you to be bold in your generosity, or bold with your giving. And let me say something about this real clearly. I need you to be bold in your giving, not because we need your money. See, some of you don't give because you walk in and go, good grief, they don't need my money. I have some good news. We don't need your money. But if we're going to build churches in this country and around the world, train church leaders, and engage more and more people in ministry, it's going to cost millions of dollars. If we were simply content to be a big church, pay the staff, and pay the electric bill, we're doing fine. But if we are going to leverage this unique, and I'm telling you, unique opportunity that God has given us in this city and in this country, it's going to cost a lot of money. And the great news is this: the money is in the bank. It's just in your bank. Now listen. I'm telling you, if the church, listen, this is huge, okay? If our church members would simply tithe like I have done from the very beginning to this church, I'll never ask you to do something I'm not doing or not willing to do. If you're a church member and you would simply begin tithing like you ought to anyway. If you're a participant in this church and a volunteer and you would become a percentage giver, pick any percent, 5%, 3%, and just be giving it, start giving it like New Testament Christians did from the very beginning. We would never have to do a fundraiser. In fact, if we wanted to, I don't even know if this is a good idea. If you would shift to giving online like more and more people are doing, we could have church services and never take up an offering. And people would visit and they'd come with you and they'd say, wait, I never did an offering. And you could say, oh yeah, it's because the people in this church, they're so committed, they just get it. We're on a mission. We don't want to make it difficult for anybody that's turning to God. And if that bucket coming by or that plate coming by is like, oh, they're just about money, we've even eliminated that. That's how serious we are. And you know what? We could be the first church in the history of church to quit taking an offering on Sunday morning. That's not even difficult. If you'll decide this is serious. Now look, if you're a tither, thank you. If you're a percentage giver, up your percentage. But if you're working, listen to me, this is important. If you've got a job and you got a pretty good income and every once in a while you put a 20 in that bucket and you're a Christian, are you kidding? Your kids eat more crackers and take up more resources than that every week. Are you kidding? You're so grateful for this church. You applaud when people are baptized. You love the fact that it's organized. You love what you get here. You tell your friends about it. And you've never decided to be a percentage giver. Are you kidding? Honestly, we can't afford you. We need your seat. We want to put somebody who's not a Christian in your seat or a Christian who understands the importance of what we're doing in your seat. And I'm not trying to uninvite you. I just want you to get involved. And I want you to become bold in your giving. And the reason we don't need your money is there are some extraordinary families in our churches who are so bold in their giving. And every once in a while, we'll get a $10,000 or $15,000 gift, and I'll call families, and I'll say thank you, and they say, you don't need to thank us. We love what's happening at Buckhead Church. We love what's happening at North Point. We love what's happening at Brownsbridge. Are you kidding? It's a joy to give. And if you're not in that mode with us, come on. Come on. This is the opportunity of a lifetime for a group of churches in a city like the city of Atlanta, at a time in the life of our country where the church has an opportunity to shine like never before. And then I need you to be bold in your prayers. And I want to tell you specifically how I want you to pray. First of all, you can continue to pray, thank you for the day, and help us to get the vacation safe, and help me to have them make an A on my. You can pray all those selfish prayers and pray for all the sick people. And after you're done with all the prayers that you always pray, I need you to pray some bold prayers, okay? I need you to think about the person that you know at work or in your neighborhood who you can't imagine ever darkening the door of a church, and I need you to pray for him or her every single day. Every single day. I need you to pray bold. Nobody else is praying for him. Nobody else is praying for her, probably. For those of you who are in real estate, you've got some extra time. Your prayer life's better than it's ever been, okay? I need you to pray some real estate prayers. Here's what I need you to pray. If you're involved in real estate at all, or used to be, or want to be, or think maybe one day there'll be something, somebody will buy something, here's what I want you to pray. This is a bold prayer, okay? There are billions of dollars. There are billions of dollars or unutilized and poorly utilized church assets in this country. There are billions of dollars of churches that are doing nothing, sitting on several $million worth of property, and they got 20 people attending there, and they're just slowly spending the assets down. At some point in the life of this nation, there needs to be a huge asset transfer from all the dead, not doing anything churches with nobody in them. That stuff needs to be liquidated, and all that money needs to be dropped in the laps of church planners and people who are getting it done in this country and in the world. That needs to happen. And you're a real estate person, I want you to start praying a bold prayer like that. I want you to start praying, God, would you please raise up somebody, please raise up a group that can help transfer underutilized church assets to the people who are getting it done in our country. That's what I want you to pray. For those of you who are in the financial world, you're a stockbroker, you have anything to do with finances, you work at a bank, you're just in that whole industry. I want you to pray bold. I want you to pray that God would dump millions of dollars on the local church in the United States of America, and that the local church in the United States of America would be extraordinarily good stewards of those extra dollars. There's millions and millions of dollars that could be used to transform communities, transform lives, transform the homes, transform all hospitals that need to be rebuilt, churches that need to be built around the world, churches that need to be rebuilt in Haiti. The money is in the bank. So if you're in the financial services business, I want you to start praying bold. Pray for anything else you want to, and then say, God, would you please move on the hearts of resource people to give millions of dollars to the churches in this country that know how to be good stewards, to make sure the next generation of churches is in better shape than the generation that was as the church was when it was handed to this generation. For those of you who are parents or you're in the education system, I want you to pray bold prayers for the teenagers and the adolescents in our country, okay? Bold prayers. That God, you would raise up the next generation of church leaders. That you would raise up the next generation of missionaries. That you would raise up the next generation of political leaders from this generation of students. That this would be the generations of students that says, I get it. I'm not leaving church after high school. I get it. I want to be a follower of Jesus all the way through college. And that God would do something unique in the hearts and the lives of the teenagers in our country. And as a local church and a group of local churches, we are so extraordinarily committed to that. But I want you to pray bold prayers, not just about tests and that they get into college of their choice. That's going to work out. But somebody's got to pray for this next generation. And if you've got one at home or you deal with them during the day, I want that to be your reminder. But wherever you are, come on, let's pray bold prayers. We have a short window of time. We are blessed. We have an opportunity. It's so unique. I can't even exaggerate how unique our opportunity is. And we want to leverage it for everything we can for the sake of what's happening in our community, our cities, our country, and the world.